Hello, it is OXSN. Welcome to what we take for granted. Everything that comes free in life are the best things. And then we get so caught up in these extra pursuits that we lose the appreciation for the base level of being, which is consciousness itself. The colours, the sounds, the taste, the smells, the looks. Here today I want to talk about, I actually came up here on purpose just to talk about this, and I just spent ages trying to set the fucking camera up, so I'll just do it like this. Today what I would like to talk to you is I'll show you the back of my jumper in a second, and that will do justice to the topic, is life holistically, big picture. I will be sharing with you insights that I've recently awoke to about various things, but mainly I'm talking big picture in terms of we're all on a mission, in a sense, unless you're not, and you're completely at one with the present moment, which is good to be every now and then, or you know, and it's healthy, it's good for you, it's good to do that. But that's not everything. Awakening, enlightenment is not everything. It is, but it isn't. There are multiple games to be played, and especially if you're young, it can take you a while to realize the name of the game, or the names of the games. And so I'm only 19 now. Why should you listen to me? Well, I've been on this path full blast of holistic personal development and holistic spirituality. Really, they're somewhat the same thing. I've been on it full blast with every atom in me for the past 4 years, somewhat. Not that I've actually made an awful lot of grounded personal development progress, but this is a lot what I'm going to be talking about today, is grounded personal development progress, and some key words that are relevant to that, but also just the general topic of the video is building, growth, personal development, self-help, spirituality, maturity, wisdom, love, epistemology, metaphysics, enlightenment, so one of the insights I've had recently is that we take life for granted, fundamentally. Not only do we not actually appreciate the consciousness, but there's another level in terms of gratitude, where we don't, the predicament of humans is that we see what moves, we see the foreground, we see what changes. And the way our consciousness works, as I'm somewhat stealing analogies from Alan Watts, is just to conserve energy, and the way it is for our minds, how we see reality, is that we leave out more than we take in terms of we see what moves and changes, but everything that's consistent, aka like the background, we don't really need to pay that much attention to, because it's always there. And this goes very, very deep. If you want more of this, search The Web of Life by Alan Watts. And there's liberation led there, it's all involved with the Tao Te Ching and just the flow of life, and ego disillusion, etc. But the reason I say this is that we only see what moves, or we only see what we can contrast to what we once saw, in a way. So what I'm saying is, when we're always warm, we don't put so much emphasis on the warmth of like how, you know, because we need it. We need to be warm. There are so many amazing things that go on in your body that is really quite divine, and in a sense, it's God. It is really God. I see God in many things, in doors, in the most mundane things. When I'm not caught up in desire and I'm high consciousness, I see God, aka pure intelligence, in the most mundane things. I see it now. The fact that this is the only thing that exists in the present moment, when all is said and done, here is the truth. And there's different ways you can see the same thing, even visually. But so what I'm saying is, it branches off in many different ways I can use this analogy for. But so what I'm saying is, we take everything for granted. The miracle of life for granted, but we take for granted the fact that we're warm. One of my main insights, God, there are so many interconnections I'm making that I could take this. So here's an example of how what seems chaos on one level is actually order on a higher level, which is the name of the game here in your existence, is that there are no single events. In a song, it has the climax, and you know, but then it all fits together holistically in a song. Or a movie might have, using a movie or a video game or a song as an analogy for your life, which it is, just like a dance. There are no like every individual event is actually part of a greater overarching web of interconnected, like. So let me give you the example. So I was feeling depressed and down bad one day. We were going out to the beach with my family on a nice day. What have I got to be down bad about, you know? So I was down bad. Obviously, this seems like chaos to me. Like, I feel just depressed, a bit shitty about my life in general. And then I walked into the ocean, and it was very cold. And as I looked out over the vast, endless ocean that I was just walking into, it was cold, and I knew I was about to go into the ocean. And this correlates with the cold showers. I was just on the beach, and I was depressed. But now I'm headed into this freezing fucking water. I now understand that what I did have, I took for granted, and if I could get back there, I'd be grateful, because this sea is very uncomfortable and brutal. So I was imagining being stranded in this infinite sea, and how I would not be very up for that. So I should be so grateful when I'm not stranded in the sea, because if I was stranded in the sea, I would be so grateful for what I take for granted. Now there's that, and because everything's interconnected, let me just kind of branch off in a sense. It's like, this is actually the reason why everything's the way it is the reason why life can be shit now, or everything needs contrast. Fundamentally, for duality to exist, white, black, good, bad, me, you, there needs to be everything is codependent. Again, the web of life Alan Watts speaks about is that you need negativity in order to know the good, and when you get that, it's like liberation in a sense. But then there's this overarching goodness which everything, like, but we'll get to that. So the name of the game is the reason why everything is not so perfect right now, or so you think, in your story at least, of the ego, or anything, is that you done it on purpose, because you could never appreciate having a filling dinner if you was never hungry. Oh my God, I realize I'm God. Right now. So weird how quick things can change. We're all God. Yes! Oh my god, I can't wait. I cannot wait. Alright, sorry. Ignore that. But yeah, so the reason why is because how can you ever... So if you was never hungry or discomfortable, you know, like, you can never experience getting the dinner. So the reason you as God, you deprive yourself of the once you were the Godhead, unbounded infinity, ultimate singularity, undivided, infinite, completely full and whole. Then to play the adventure of me being Oxen, born in Babylon, fucking, oh, all the food's fake, I'm gonna run away to some, like, it's an act, and you incarnate into roles in movies, do you see? So you're God, you're all powerful, and if that was the case, if God was all powerful, does God have the power to deceive himself that he's not God, to make himself forget? And if he didn't, then he wouldn't be all powerful and he wouldn't be God. So God fools himself into believing that he is Jake or Lucy, and Lucy is in some predicament, and there's loads of drama, and through self-deception you can really incarnate into infinite realities, and play the roles. So you can be any person in any movie and play it as if it's actually real. So it's like, not only do you have infinite movies on the infinite screen of consciousness that you can play infinite amount of times through the infinite timelessness as God, but you can also incarnate into any movie through pure intelligence, and you can incarnate into every single role in every movie to experience it from every angle to get the most full experience of anything you want, because you're God. So I went a bit off there, but that's what I'm saying, is that everything needs contrast. So it's all interconnected, but the main point is that we take for granted what we forget that we have. So when you're getting down bad about your addiction, oh, I need weed, or I need this thing again, you're taking the fucking piss. You're taking it for granted. There is so much magic around you. And I've heard this a million times, but you really have to go through the process and learn it yourself. What I'm saying is that when you really come to appreciate how much you've been given for free, that you are in the land of God, that there is so much magic and entertainment and love, and also the opposite of these, but there's still a holistic appreciation for it all, because the good is codependent on the bad, and when you understand that, you can appreciate how the whole thing is necessary for the rest of it. How it's all, because it all stems from this undivided oneness. So when you divide it, you must create good, bad, white, black. Everything is duality, and duality is the dream that emerges when you wake up in the morning and you open your eyes and there's the ceiling. It's like you might have been dreaming about some other thing, and there's all sort of other emergent dualities, and then this one comes. What is this? It's the magic that emerges in between sleep. Oh, it's back online. It's back. It's come back. I'm here again. Fantasy world. But what I'm saying is but when it comes to I just made a big podcast about addiction. Check it out on my Spotify and my Google Podcasts, etc. Is that you're really gonna numb reality down to one facet: weed, alcohol. And I know a lot of these I know that we are designed to be in codependent relationship with magic mushrooms or weed potentially, and obviously it's illegal in this culture, which is why everything is so fucked. But so when you're like shrinking reality to I want this, that's when you're being ignorant of the Tao Te Ching, the rest of it, and you're also being foolish. It's not what you want. And the lesson that you wish that you could learn is that the reason why reality is never enough for you and you're never satisfied, which is why you're always pursuing things that you know you shouldn't pursue, whether it's bad habits, pornography, junk food, etc. And they all have their own place. You can pursue them every now and then, potentially, and it could be good for you in a weird way, for your soul or your mind, your mental health. But be careful about that. But what I mean is that if you was only aware of the infinite profound miracle acutely enough, you would drop the addiction in a second, because you realize that you shrink reality down to, I want this. But what happens is you've lost the base, and the base is truly heaven on earth. But it can also be hell on earth. But in the bigger picture, because hell is the chaos, but then there's a higher order. Just like if you look at some fucking trash over the road, it just looks like random chaos. But if you zoom in, then the atoms, etc., will be aligned in perfect, beautiful geometry. Sacred geometry. That is so sacred, it is one of the only things that activates both hemispheres of the brain simultaneously. Also, I heard. So, taking life for granted, you're getting sad and down bad because you're not being grateful. And then this lack of awareness of how good you have it makes you want to pursue more, because you believe that you don't have it, and you believe that you don't have it is because you've forgotten that you already have it. So you go out seeking, try and do. Now, I'm not here to make a video about realizing you have everything and there's nothing to do and this spirituality stuff. There's more to life than awakening and spirituality. And this is a lot what I want to talk about, even though I haven't really got to the point exactly yet. So, there's this. And like, what I'm saying is the base of reality, as Eckhart Tolle says, is where the real, for the most part, is the fulfillment, to an extent, with this kind of like Buddhist idea. You know, you can be happy with the Tao teaching. You're part of this organic system that will birth, die, and get where it needs to be ultimately, regardless of the small self's decisions. Right. Yeah, so then we pursue things like weed and these other adventures, trying to be aspirational, and then we get caught up in these as if it's the only thing. Where, because if you tie your identity and your value system, if you tie your value system and you fix it onto a YouTube channel, you can literally make that a part of your identity. So when your YouTube channel gets terminated, like mine did for no good reason, but I'll contact YouTube in the future about that, we'll see. Then it fucking really hurts, because you've invested it and you've got attached to it, because it means that much to you that it may as well be the end game. Where you build an attachment to something where you become identified with it. And that can cause a lot of suffering. Like when I lost a flat that I didn't want to lose, it caused a lot of suffering because of how much I was attached to it. But then I lost it another time around, and I wasn't attached this time, and it was completely smooth. So it really shows how your mind is so powerful. So the real fulfillment fundamentally is in the present moment, in the Tao teaching, the flow of reality. You have everything you need already. It's all divine. You'll get where you need to go ultimately. However, this is the main point, all right? Building. I should have got to this a long time ago. So, right, you can have these metaphysical realizations on when smoking, with mushrooms, anything like that. Realize everything's how it's meant to be. All right, it's heaven on earth. Brilliant. Like an insight I had on some shrooms, I realized it was heaven on earth, and it was so, I realized the name of the game is so infinitely good and infinite love, to such an extent that I was like, fuck, like, it was like I had a dream, I got everything I wanted, not what you think, and if I'm being honest, it might have been a nightmare. And it's like, and then I was like, fuck, let me go back. Like, everything becomes so perfect. I realized that it's the mind of God, and that I created everything. And it's all so divine that when you realize that, it's like, nah, let me go back to pretending that it wasn't all divine. Like, let me go back to pretending that I really ought to do something, and oh no, what's gonna happen? Because that's why you do it, because in the infinite Godhead, you're just complete. And it's so good, it's like you want some fucking drama. So it's like, the drama hurts so much, and the pain and the suffering and the depression or whatever can hurt so much. But without that, there's no zest. Sometimes I enjoy feeling pain just to add some spice to the game. Shit ain't heating up with no flame. Everything needs contrast, don't complain, cause you're lame and can't hang. So that's why you do it. You're like, oh fuck me, this is gonna hurt a lot. Eventually I'll wake up. But I mean, I can either sit in infinity of pure heaven, pure bliss, infinite, just pure love, or, you know, and I could do that, and it keeps getting better and better, but it gets so good it almost turns into fucking pain. And I've realized these things recently, like I've had love awakenings recently, which I never had before, which is why I'm feeling so much better. So I realize love is the remedy. So I'm dancing around the main topic here, but what I'm fucking saying basically is, where does your happiness come from? Again, listen to my fucking podcast in the description about addiction. I go a deep dive on this, but it's like, look, I've come to realize now, and it's took me a long time, and I'm still very young, so this is the reason. But although I'm young, don't underestimate the value that I'm going to bring. I really do recommend you stick around. And I'm not just saying that. I know that I have value. I know I've been on this for a long, long time. But what I've come to realize, essentially, is that I think happiness for most of us stems from building, growing. And a lot of this, and again, when you identify with something that you're building, where you really care about investing in your child, investing in your business, investing in your success, in your social media, in your investing. Obviously, when you're investing loads of this, you're going to have a bit of fear that you don't want it to go tits up. But at the same time, you've got to understand that what's meant to be is meant to be, and that the ebbs and flows and the chaos on one level is really unity on a higher level. So the fear, you know, everything's meant to be. That's when my YouTube channel got terminated. I ultimately let it go pretty quickly, because I understand that it's God and everything. You'll look back in hindsight and it will make sense why it played out this way. And this is like a trust in the universe that just liberates you in many ways. And another thing I was thinking, actually, as a connection I made recently, is that it's not very, it's relevant to the bigger picture. It's not super relevant to this topic, but it's very interesting. It's manifestation. And I was like, yeah, like, it's almost like if you believe it, it almost becomes true. And then in that way, you can speak things into existence. And I wonder if truth is manifestation, or truth is positivity, where positive ideas and ideas that will liberate you, or like coping strategies, in a sense, but like the goodness of the coping strategy makes it true in its own way. For example, this Katie girl, I was like, I don't know how I feel about the crystals. Do they heal you? Do you not? She believes they heal her, because the placebo basically makes it true. So it's like manifestation and speaking into existence is its own form of truth. And in this way, the truth is not as solid as we thought, potentially. It's a lot more metaphysical as you are God. But I'm sure that obviously there are non-changing truths somewhat on some levels. So what I'm saying is, I've been down the spiritual path full blast for a long time. I've taken like 110 something very high mushroom trips. I know a lot about those. I've smoked insane amounts of weed for many years. But I'll tell you what happened to me recently. So when I moved here, I had a really shit job. This job's shit. I had no money. I was pretty down bad. And then I landed a job at the beginning of summer. And when I got into this job, I didn't really have much money. I wasn't feeling very good about my life, my circumstances, or my mental health, or my spiritual well-being either. So I went all the way through this job, worked many, many months, consistently grinding, getting money, and then I would go, oh, it'd be really nice to have a fucking joint. It'd be really nice to get some mushrooms. Mushrooms are different, in a way, but it's that most people go through their lives and their days trying to make ends meet, in terms of they just want to get home, unwind, get some pleasure, hold themselves off, avoid pain, and then do it again. They just want to have a joint by the end of the day, or whatever it may be. Have a beer, get home, unwind on a sofa, have a beer. Go to work, fuck work, this is long, I can't wait to get home. Have a beer. Right. And in the moment, obviously, it depends how you're doing it. I was doing it with mushrooms and weed, and mushrooms, obviously, personal development, spirituality, and so's weed. It's like you invest to be on a metaphysical wavelength, which can heal you in a lot of ways. And see Leo Guru's video about burning through karma. It's relevant. It's about how, just quickly, it's just about how, like, you know, does the child need a lecture about how he shouldn't eat sugar, or does he need to go through the process of eating the sugar and realizing that it's not fucking worth it? That's relevant to this video. But what I'm saying is, this looks so, come on, camera doesn't do it justice. But what I'm saying is, and this goes into the addiction cycle, the video that I just made that's relevant to this one, but it's not what I want to talk about. It's more like, don't confuse pleasure with happiness. And so, to cut to the point, I think a lot of my happiness I've realised today, and it seems intuitive, but understand this, is that if your highest value is pursuing making content, life-changing content, or making music, if that is your highest vision, your highest value, you have to, the fool has his priorities correct. I mean, the wise one has his priorities correct, and the fool has his priorities back to front. Where if my mission in life is to cure AIDS with a medicine, right? This then puts my whole sense of self and identity, if I can really hone in on it, I am the pursuit of curing AIDS. I'm not the fucking body anymore. I'm not my health. I'm not my family. I am this pursuit. Same with weed. If I pursue weed, then I am the weed. And when I don't get it, it fucks the whole thing up. So that's another thing about going to pursue and buy weed or some shit. It is you've set yourself up for, I want this, and if you don't get it, it throws you off course. But you can learn from that. It's just as interesting if you have your desires fulfilled as if you don't. You learn from it all. It's a win-win when you learn from your mistakes. Suffering is grace. So what I'm saying is that you need to make your goals, your mission, your life purpose, your values very fucking clear. This is like the priority if you're on this mission with me. Unless you're just a stay-at-home mum and that's your priority, and you're fine with that. But the reason why you're sad and discontent, well, Jordan Peterson says the most miserable people, say like 40-year-olds who are pursuing the same nothing they were pursuing at age 18. But it's not as cute as when you're 40. And it's not cute when you're 18 either. It's one of my best clips from Jordan Peterson. And it's this like, yeah, so there's different degrees to make what makes you happy, pleasure, needs. It's very important to make this distinction. Don't confuse happiness with pleasure you felt, and don't freak out when everything mount after acid. Now when I smoke, I cannot wait to pass it. Sorry. The reason why you're discontent is because you have these background goals, visions that you haven't solidified. Do you want to be a fucking music artist or not? Do you want to be a fucking public intellectual or a thought leader or not? Do you want to be an alkaline teacher? Do you want to be a spiritual teacher? Do you want to be... And you have these aspirations in the background, and you're getting those mixed up. That's what you really want. See my episode, What You Want versus What You Really Want. It's quite an old one. And it goes into this. It's that you've got what you want confused. Part of you wants sex, part of you wants food, part of you wants weed, but there's another part, and part of you wants junk food. But there's another part of you, potentially often a higher part of you, that wished you didn't eat the junk food. So you get what you want, but then there's another part of you that doesn't really want it. And that's the mature part that you have to get in touch with. That's the higher self. So, what I'm saying is, when you're pursuing what you think you want because you're confused, weed, sugar, dopamine, caffeine, getting these highs, it's like, good. Something tells you it's good. And you almost get that good confused with the goodness of actualizing your AIDS cure. But what are your fucking priorities? Because the reason why you're down bad is because you don't know to invest in your highest priorities, and you're getting them mixed up with the lowest ones. So the only reason that you want to smoke weed and eat junk food is because you're not clear that that means nothing to you. It means nothing to you. You only want to do these things because it's relying on unconsciousness. It's all in the fucking mind. The name of the game is to zoom out, go meta perspective, big picture perspective, look out at life. This is what psychedelics do. What is going on? Where am I? What should I do? What shouldn't I do? No one wakes up and thinks that they're going to scroll 6 hours on social media, do they? It relies on unconsciousness to form. So what I'm fucking saying is that the vast majority of us, regardless of all the spiritual stuff, right? Most people really, they want more than they have. Or again, we're taking a lot for granted. And the taking it for granted is that you can be so grateful that you decide to play with it instead of against it, and you work with it to create beauty and to manifest the greatest landscapes and the greatest events and the greatest shit that you want, because you can speak shit into existence. So when you are acutely aware of the divinity and the God within every nuance of reality, you then take it upon yourself to work with the magic and go with the flow and build with the magic and become one and engage with the magic so fully that you become one with it, and life is smooth, where there's labor and there's work, but you can trick yourself, where there's labour that you don't want to do. Something like doing the dishes. I don't want to do the dishes because I'd rather detach and smoke some weed and watch TV or whatever the fuck, listen to music. But the reason why you don't want to do the dishes is because you think that you're just going to do the dishes, and you're there going, oh, look at all these plates. Alan Watts says, you know, you only ever have to do one in the present moment, technically. But it's the reason why you don't want to do the fucking dishes is because you don't enjoy doing the dishes. But you can enjoy doing the dishes if you understand why you must do the dishes. Because when you do the fucking dishes, you can do other things, more free time to pursue other things, but it's mainly that the dishes need to get done to actualize your values and your goals. Therefore, doing them is actualizing, doing the dishes is the AIDS cure. Do you understand? Shouting this out here. Doing the dishes is the cure for AIDS. Don't you see? Wake up. But it's a tricky, long way round. But it is what you want. And all of the labour, when you understand that all the labour that you're doing is going towards this ultimate vision, this goal, then this is the main point, right? And I'm talking a lot about addiction still, but it's about bad habits in general. It's realising that the real value is... Uh-oh. Ah, fuck. It's starting to rain big time. It's a level of maturity where you realise that you're not willing to sacrifice everything else for some shitty immediate pleasure. Comfort is not success. There's often discomfort and periods, week-long periods of grinding, working, that are not going to be comfortable and that you don't want to do in the moment. But if you don't do it now, and if you don't go and get life, life will come and fucking get you. And when that happens, you're not fucking ready for it. You don't want it. You're going to be bitching. You're going to be in the midst of trying to buy some weed that you can't fucking sort, and now you're getting angry about that. Go and get life before it comes knocking at your door. Oh God, it's pissing down. Why am I out here? So you think you want to smoke a joint, or you think you want some junk food, but when you actually get attuned to your values, you can sit there and smoke a joint and go, you can sit there in delusion, yeah, with a myopic perspective. You can smoke a joint and go, ah, thank fuck, I got that joint I wanted. And you can believe that this is what you want. And part of you does want it. The unconscious part. Somewhat. But if you sit there while you're smoking and go, hold on a second, how is this gonna help me cure AIDS? You see how if you get fixed on that goal, then everything that doesn't get you to that goal, you're like, well, why am I doing this? And then it's easy to drop because you don't care about it. Well, I mean, it can be hard to drop some part of you. It takes a big amount of willpower quitting your addictions. But also, you realise, like, part of you wants it because you're habitually used to it, etc. And again, we're meant to be in a codependent relationship with some plants, so I'm just using it as an example. But I think it's wise to quit weed. See my episode, Quitting Weed Can Be Mega Valuable. Quite an old one. It's just, you realise that weed is not actually what you wanted. You were just deluding yourself. Like, it's what you want right now, but what you want right now is not what you want, and you'll be full of regret. And and I get it, obviously the spiritual stuff, you know, but at the same time, most people want more than they have. And it doesn't matter what's, like, this is the thing about this meditation and stuff. Leo Gura spoke about it quite a bit. It's like, you can be content with the present moment, but what about aspirations? What about creative pursuits? Like, yeah, if you go back and you unwire the desire to be aspirational, then you can become one with the present moment. But people don't fucking want that. You're alive because there's loads of stuff to do. And when you don't do them, you get sad. You need to pursue things. You need to interact and engage with reality. And that's where it is. That's where the magic is. So, pursue things. Go get things. Build things. Create. So, the main thing I want you to take away is that a lot of happiness, and something I neglected for a long time, is that you need to build. See actualize.org, his video, valuable things require development over time. And there's a whole category of things that you need to invest in consistently day after day. And these things are very fundamental for the vast majority of people's happiness. If you want wealth, if you want any kind of development, it takes a long fucking time. And we're neglecting this. If you got everything you wanted immediately, you may not be happy in a sense. I had a dream, I got everything I wanted, not what you think, and if I'm being honest, it might be a nightmare. But everything that you want is not necessarily something you can buy. Again, that video I just referred to by Leo is like, you can't buy a good education. You can't buy just things of that nature. They just take time to develop. And that's where a lot of happiness is. I realised recently that I might not be wealthy, but I've got this, my mind. And I'd much rather have this than money. So in this sense, I feel like I've already got everything. Because this is where the value is. The way I think, the way I talk to myself, the way I understand reality is how I get my value. So the reason you're sad is because you're not pursuing anything. You could be pursuing enlightenment and spiritual rejuvenation, etc. and chilling out for a minute, and that's okay. But what I was saying about the job that I joined at the start of the summer is I joined this job and I was grinding, earning money, but then basically I lost this job the other day. They ran out of work for the most part. I was just labouring on a building site, helping out as much as I can, digging holes, throwing shit around. I come out of this job with just as much money and net worth that I had when I began this job about 5 months ago. I come out of this job having built just as much as I had gone into it. So it's this whole period where I started this job, I landed a job, here I am, let's go. Keep ticking over, going to work, coming home, week after week, day after day, month after month. But then when I lost the job and I thought, oh, well, I'm going to need to make some more money quickly. And I looked at my net worth and I was like, what was I fucking doing the whole fucking time? I took mushrooms. I had my first infinite love realizations and things like this. Valuable things. My mental health increased drastically. And I feel very rejuvenated in many ways. So there's that. But in terms of the objective actual world, I didn't fucking build anything. I didn't work on the AIDS cure, did I? Not really. I might have done a little bit here and there, but this should be above everything else. But the fool, which was me until just now, and is still me in many different ways, is I had my priorities backwards, like I said, where instead of going to the job thinking I'm going to grind, do the grunt work to save money and eventually invest and get and level up and build a better foundation for my life so that I can travel more and then join some spiritual school and whatever and build more with more money, etc. Instead, I prioritized, oh, it'd be so good to have a joint today. Oh, it'd be so good to just get some shrooms today. And I get how, like I say, you can use these holistically in the bigger picture for your spiritual development and rejuvenation and health, etc. But what I'm saying is, when you look at time, here's what you should do. Here's what I'm going to do. Here you are, in the next 6 months. What do you want? Go and get it. Stop fucking around. Because that's what you've got to look at. You've got to look at how much time do I have? You have, if you're 16 or 18 years old, 19, you have roughly 15,000 days before you're 60 years old. 15,000 days is all you got. So in 1,000 days, or 300 days, or a year, where do you want to allocate your resources, time, money, energy? Do you want to put those into having a good time, partying, a grab bag of random events, having a good time, feeling good, smoking a lot of weed, taking a lot of shrooms, having a big shroom realization? Those are all good, and you can have those, but what is your actual priority? Is your priority to realize the nature of reality on mushrooms? Or is your priority to build a community, physically and on the internet, of young men who want to develop themselves? You choose. What do you want out of life? What are your goals? Where are you going? How are you going to get there? When are you going to get there? Is these goals that require investment over a long time, are they necessary to your happiness and fulfillment? Will you be happy with meditation, with Buddhism, with psychedelia, with coming up and coming down, or even not coming down? Are you happy with the Tao Te Ching? Are you happy with the web of life? Or are you ambitious, and do you want to create and pursue creative endeavors? Do you want to build something physical? Do you want to heal human beings? Or do you want to meditate and unwire your desires in order to become content with the present moment? What do you want? Figure out, it's not just what do you want now. What have you wanted? What have you desired? What have you been lusting for? What have you been craving in the past? What are your biggest aspirations and goals? Write these down, sort them out, categorize them into higher self-values, lower self-values, pleasure, happiness, fulfillment, vision, goals, instant gratification, delayed gratification, grinding. Categorize your goals, where you think you want to go, why you think you want to go there, how long is it going to take, how are you going to get the resources to get there? Or do you just want, if all you want is social media scrolling on Instagram and dopamine, cheap dopamine, if that's what you want, then by all means do that. If all you want is junk food, by all means do that. But if that's not what you want, then that's why you're not happy, is because you're not pursuing life with engagement. Because the reason you're not happy is because you have background pursuits and ambitions and aspirations that you would like to fulfill, but you forgot about them, and what you think that you want is a joint and sugar and junk food, because that will be so good right now. And oh fuck it, I'm almost willing to sacrifice everything else just to, fuck it, if I, fuck it, I'll put everything else on the line just to have another line. Great. That's how you can get sometimes, some people get. And there's a time and a place for just going all out and eating what you want to an extent, smoking what you want, just letting yourself off for a minute, fuck it. If that's how you see it, if you want to do that, then that's fine. But if you don't value that, letting yourself off, I call it death, they call it a treat. I'm submarine deep, no TV and no meat. No, I'm not one of them sheep. Right, I'm running out of storage now. It's a long video. But yeah, that's the thing, is you have aspirations that are so important, that you have aspirations and goals that are fundamental to your happiness. For example, curing AIDS. But then there's this other part of you that pulls you towards instant gratification and pleasure. And that has got nothing to do really with your ultimate happiness, because your ultimate happiness is grounded in maybe an objective goal or aspiration that has nothing to do with subjective pleasure. See my video, Human Pleasure Vehicle, where I took, just quickly, my phone's about to run out of storage, but my name's OXSN, OXSN, please follow my shit, I got a lot of important stuff. But yeah, just quickly, I had a mushroom trip, and normally on the mushroom trip, as I'm coming up, I smoke weed, but then as I was coming up on this trip, I lost my weed, and then I was looking for it, like, where the fuck is my weed, man? And then the trip actually fueled and built off of this, and I had a trip about these meaningless pleasure pursuits. And I got so discontent while trying to find this weed while I was coming up on these shrooms, that the whole trip was about how I'm sacrificing all of my value as a human with all of my creativity, and because I want a fucking joint. And why the fuck would you do that? All right, I love you. Everything is God. Good.